that there's no warrant for that from the psychological community. So anyways, I got up at 2 a.m. and made these videos. I thought, well, let's see what happens if I make these videos. It's like, well, this is back to the technology issue. It's like, I didn't know what YouTube was when I put my videos on it.
You didn't know what YouTube was?
Well, you know what? No one knows what YouTube is. That's the thing. Well, look at what happened to you. You have 1 billion and a half downloads a year. It's like you're definitely riding a giant wave. Like, would have you predicted this 15 years ago?
No.
So you know, you're in the right place in the right time, and you're a very interesting interviewer because, well, especially for long form, because you're very, very curious, but also very, very tough. Like, it's interesting watching you because if you don't understand something, you will go after the person. And you're not doing it in a vindictive way, but you're quite a formidable interviewer. And I've been trying to figure out why you're so successful. And like, you're a lot smarter than anyone might think, which is quite interesting. So you're a weird combination because, you know, your persona doesn't shout intellectual, but you're damn smart and you're tough as a bloody boot and you ask really provocative questions, and not because you're provocative. And so your personality and this long form seem to suit each other really well. You're also really good at pursuing things you don't understand instead of assuming that you know what you're talking about. So you take the listeners on a journey, right? It's an exploratory journey. But fundamentally, what's propelled you to superstardom in some sense is not just your ability, which is non-trivial, but the fact that you're on this giant technological wave and you're one of the first adopters. And I'm in the same situation. We're first adopters of a technology that's as revolutionary as the Gutenberg printing press. And so that's all unfolding in real time. It's like, look at what's happening. Yeah, well, the spoken word is now as powerful as the written word. That's never happened before in human history. And we're on the cutting edge of that, for better or worse.
That's a very good way to put it. The spoken word is just powerful. Yeah, and maybe even more so because it's so accessible to people that don't have the time to read.
Well, or
stuck in traffic, you know.
Or, and here's another possibility. Maybe 10 times as many people can listen to complex information as can read complex information.
In terms of their ability to
process it. Yeah. Sure, could easily. We don't know. Maybe it's the same number.
It's certainly easier to listen to a book on tape for me than it is to read a book.
Yeah. Well, so the question is, for how many people is that true? And I would say it might be true for the majority of people. And then people are doing hybrids, you know. So because you can sync your book with Audible, right? So they'll read when they have the time, but then when they have found time, which is also a major component of this, that's the time when you're driving or the time when you're doing dishes, is now all of a sudden you can educate yourself during that found time. This is a big revolution. And blowing out the bandwidth makes a huge difference because, well, we talked about that at the beginning. Looks like people are more intelligent than we thought. And you and I are both, and the rest of this intellectual dark web, that's kind of what unites us, is everybody has an independent platform, virtually everybody. They have an idiosyncratic viewpoint. They're interested in having discussions and pursuing the furtherance of their knowledge, even though they might have a priori ideological commitments. Sam does, and I suppose I do, and Ben Shapiro certainly does. But they're still interested in having the discussion. But more importantly, they're capitalizing on the long form. And the fact that that's possible is a reflection of this technological transformation. And the technological transformation might be utterly profound. It looks like it. And so that's, you know, I've been trying to sort this out because I keep thinking, well, why the hell are these people coming to listen to what I'm saying? It's like, well, I'm a guru, you know, I'm a sage. It's something like that. It's like, don't be thinking that first. Think if there's situational determinants first. Take your damn personality out of it. Okay, what's going on? Oh, yes, this is all fostered by YouTube and fostered by podcasts. What's so new about that? No bandwidth restrictions, no barrier to entrance. Possibility of dialogue because people cut up the YouTube videos into chunks and make their own comments on it. It's a whole new communication technology.
Also a lack of interference by executives and producers and all these different people that have their own bias.
That's right. It's unmediated.
Yes, right? Unmediated is giant.
Yeah. Well, and that's all part of the reason you're so popular too, is like you just put this on. Like, so you've got exactly the right balance of competent production, because there's nothing excess about it. Like, it's competent, but no more than that. I know that's by design, but you also don't edit it. It's like what you see is what you get. It's like everyone's relieved by that. We can make our own damn decisions.
Well, I think that's very important. If you're going to have a conversation with someone that's honest, you can't decide what to leave in and what to take out. Mm-hmm. It's just...
Well, that's partly also why I deal with the press the way I do. It's like if I'm going to have a full conversation, it's like I'm willing to take the hits.
Yeah.
And
I understand what you're saying, but that's one of the reasons why it frustrates me so much is that I see what they're doing. And I'm like, what you're doing is ancient. What you're doing is, this is what people did 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You can't really do that anymore. You can't misrepresent people. You used to be able to, if you were in the press, you could take people, quote them out of context, do whatever the fuck you wanted, put an article about them, and they couldn't do a goddamn thing about it. It happened to me in It was like 99. I did I had a comedy CD that came out, and this woman wrote an article about it, and she just lied. She lied about my perspective. She lied about the bits. She misquoted the bits. She didn't just paraphrase them. She changed what the bits were to make them, misogynist or hateful or whatever it was. And in doing so, there was no recourse. There was nothing that I could do about that. I'm like, wow, I'd never experienced that before. I was like, this is stunning. And then I found out this person did that a lot, and this is what she did. And there's ultimate power that comes with being the person that has the pen, being the person that has the typewriter, and you're the person who works for the Boston Globe or whatever the publication is. That is something that existed forever. And that you had to be either a friend of the press, you had to play ball, you had to bend to their will, you had to do what they wanted you to do. And they could misrepresent you and choose to paint you in any way they like. And it's one of the reasons why I don't do anything anymore. I don't do any interviews anymore. I don't do anything. I don't want to do anything. I do enough, man. You want to know about me? Fucking, there's 1,000 podcasts. There's more than 1,000. I think there's 1,100, and there's a bunch of other ones too.
Right.